Today we are going to talk about a novel. As you know that in your course you are going to read a novel, Goodbye Mr. Chips. In this presentation we are going to introduce you to the genre of novel. We are going to talk about the important characteristics of a novel, what are the elements of a novel, and what are the different kinds of novels. Novel is basically a fictional prose narrative of considerable length, that is, it's much longer than a short story. It has a plot which is unfolded by the actions and speech and thoughts of the different characters. Now, novel, it is an invented prose narrative. It is usually long and complex. It deals particularly with human experiences through a usually connected sequence of events, and it is a perfect picture image of the writer's time and era, as if you are looking at the writer's time through a looking glass or through a window. It is a window which is making us look into the writer's era and his thoughts. Now, the meaning of the word novel, it has been derived from the Italian word novella, which means a new story or a new thing. As Percy Lubbock has defined it, it is an imaginary work in prose of a considerable length which presents as real certain characters living in a given environment and describes their attitudes, fate and adventures. The novel, it was first established as a literary form in England in the 18th century through the works of Daniel Defoe, Samuel Richardson and Henry Fielding. They are considered the pioneer English novelists. Now, there are certain characteristics of a novel. It tells about universal problems and feelings of humanity. It reflects the people and customs of the periods in the setting. It is a long story, usually with many characters and more than one theme and storyline. And it also teaches some lesson or truth about life. Now, let's compare a novel to a short story. A novel is usually of 50,000 words or more. It has many characters, it has a complex story, it has a deeper understanding of life or individuals. Now, as a short story, it is of 5,000 words or less, it has few or sometimes just one character. It focuses on one particular event and it gives a better understanding of an event or character. Now, let's look at the elements of a novel. The elements of a novel are the same as elements of any short story. It has a plot, it has a theme, it has a setting, it has a point of view, and it has a character, it has a conflict, and there is a protagonist, there are different scenes, and its novel is holding all these elements together. Now, coming to the plot. A plot or story, it is the foundation of the novel, or you can say that it is a pillar upon which the building of the novel is standing. And as Aristotle has said, plot is the arrangement of incidents that are coming one after the other. Usually, every novel, it has exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and then the conclusion. The characters, they are usually imaginary people, and writer writes about them in a fiction or in drama. These writers, they use these characters to expose us to the story and to the plot. For example, Harry Potter or Oliver Twist. Now, characterization is an essential element of the novel. It is the craft of creating characters in a novel or in a drama. The author unveils the personality of the character through this technique which is called characterization. Setting. It is the location where the events of any story or in particular of the novel are taking place. It might be one place or it might cover more than one places. The setting, it can be a room, a forest, a battlefield, a spaceship, a mountaintop or anything. Now let's look at some of the elements of the setting. We use certain words to describe a location. These words, we use words to describe the sounds that are in there. It depicts the mood, and there are different smells and there are different feelings, and there are certain words which are repeated to enhance this element or making a picture of the setting. Then, coming to the point of view. It is the perspective from which we tell a work of fiction. From which angle do we want the readers to see the action of the novel? Now, the narrator's voice, it is something that tells us the story of the novel. Another way, like to think of it, is that if a novel is a movie, the point of view would be the location of the camera, that what the writer wants us to see, what he wants us to consider more important. Usually, when they are writing a novel, there is a first-person narration and second and a third person. A first-person narrator tells the story using the words I and me as if he was actually there. A second-person narrator, the author employs second-person pronouns to narrate the story. This point of view is also called objective point of view, and it is the most challenging. In this particular point of view, the author turns out to be a spectator. The third-person narrator tells the story from the outside, and he doesn't use the word I and me to describe the story's events because he or she isn't a participant. Instead, this type of narrator describes the characters as the third person using their names, or the third person pronouns he or she or him or her, etc. Now then, like any story, dialogues are also an important and integral part of a novel. It is defined as a written conversation between two or more people in a novel. It is not simply move the story of the novel ahead, but it discloses, it exposes the personality of the character. And it offers us a lot of information about the setting, time, age and location of the characters. These dialogues, they provide us a good chance to get a good insight into the mindset of the various characters. Without dialogue, the entire structure of the novel, it turns into a monotonous essay. And it enhances the flow of thoughts and provides us with a lot of pleasure. Then we come to the theme of a novel. It is the crux of the matter that the author wants to explain through the events of the novel. It is the principle or basic idea of the novel. The entire story of the novel, it revolves around the main idea or the theme. Now, there are different types of novels. One is an adventure novel. It tells about an exciting and dangerous journey. Then there are psychological novels. It emphasizes on the description of characters' psychological development. Detective novels, they tell about mysteries, secrets and crimes. Sociological novels, they are usually about the influence of social and economic condition on the characters and events. Then we have a collective novel. It focuses on the social problems. In this novel, it's a mix between anthropology and sociology. Then we have historical. Historical novels, they are set in past and they take characters and events from the history. Then we have political novels. The problems are not observed from people's problem point of view as an individual, but they are observed from a group or a nation's problem point of view in any particular society. Now, the novels, they serve certain purposes. First of all, they help us understand our own heritage. Even if we are reading a novel by a foreign author, we are able to compare the lifestyle depicted in the novel with our own. It illuminates us with different human experiences, and novels sometimes they prove to be a catalyst of social and political change, and they also document an event for better understanding.